You're recording now, so I'll share my screen. And so when you first log into the terminal app, obviously you'll see the dashboard just like this. What we're going to do is go through just the inbound section and then the outbound section. Oh, sounds like we might have got you. There we go.
Okay, yep, I can see the screen now.
Awesome. Okay, sweet. So yeah, when you log in, you should see this. And then Jim, like I mentioned, I just added that second terminal. So you should have this client switcher now. You can click change, and then you can select between Williamsport and Wysox.
Okay.
To start out with, so the process flow, how it works is we receive in our system rail command, which I'm going to set up user access for both of you after this too, so you can log in and see it. What happens in rail command is we get all your suppliers' shipments sent to us automatically by what's called an EDI 417. It's just an electronic copy of the waybill essentially. So anything that has Shale Rail listed as the in care of party, we receive those shipments in this system, and then those shipments will automatically flow into the inbound section of the terminal app based on kind of parameters that we have set up, different codes we have set up, which I'll show you. So those will come in to the inbound shipment section based on those codes, which we'll set up in the inbound patterns. So the inbound shipments is going to show, again, any of those rail cars. So the status of those, when we get new ones that come in here, the status would be in transit. And then when those cars, get to the serving yard, you'll manually change those to constructively placed, or if they're, brought on site, you'd change them to actually placed, which I think you guys are already aware of.
Yep.
Then again, based on that inbound pattern that we have set up, that pattern will show who the customer is, and that will then tie to or match up to the outbound patterns that we set up. So inbound is, again, going to be anything just specific to rail cars, essentially, and then outbound is going to be those patterns for your truckloads. So when you set up the orders, those will match up to those outbound patterns, again, based on customer. And when you go to create a truckload, the rail cars that are assigned to this, like a particular customer, would show up under a PO that has the same customer. So like if we were in sales orders, let's see, I'm gonna go to the filters here. I'm gonna go to my outputs, and then I'll add customer so you can see. So the order we've got now is Smart Sand. If we go to edit this and go to create a new truckload, the railcar source here, only the cars that are associated with that Smart Sand customer that also have 100 mesh would show up in this dropdown. So there's right now, if I go back to the inbound shipment section, you can see there's some old ones here that are for US ceramics. Those car numbers would not appear in this dropdown because it's not associated with A, the product, or B, the customer. So helps to, kind of prevent, user error in selecting the wrong rail cars that way. that's kind of just the general process. Any questions about how that works? The next I'll just jump into kind of how to set those up if you don't have any questions at this point.
Okay, yeah.
No. There.
Yep.
All right. So I guess, yeah, I'll start back in Rail Command and we'll look at the shipping patterns that we have. So when we receive those inbound rail car shipments from the rail carriers, we tie those to shipping patterns in RSI or in Rail Command. And within these patterns are those codes that will allow those shipments to import from Rail Command into the terminal application. So those are actually set up. We have the shipping pattern set up based on, the different lanes. And then within the shipping parties, those are all of the obviously parties associated with those patterns or those waybills. And then the codes here are what we have set up for. There are some for WISOX, some for Shale Rail, and then like these ones here, they're not really specific. And I think I think I was in the process of actually changing these to be more just specific or not specific, more just generic, so that in case you guys end up getting like high crush shipments at Williamsport instead of just at WISOX, for example, they'd be able to flow into both or either terminal automatically. But this code is essentially what allows it to move from Rail Command to the terminal application. So if we were to look at a pattern, like let's look at this Smart Sand to Williamsport. Oops, I didn't want to clone. Just go to edit. So shipper is Smart Sand, consignee party is Smart Sand, and then the in care of party, which is the physical location that the cars end up going to. That's obviously you guys. So the consignee party here, that's the one that we need to have that code on. So if I go to edit party, that brings us into those shipping parties, and then you can see that code like I showed you earlier. So that's the idea of how those shipments get moved from Rail Command to the terminal application. And then within the terminal app, the way to make sure that it's, those shipments actually can import in here correctly is through the inbound patterns. So those inbound patterns have to match up, or the code at least has to match up with the code in the Rail Command pattern.
Yeah.
So if we look at, sorry, go ahead.
I said, yeah, which I believe I remember seeing the actual code in place there in some of those patterns, but yeah, I wasn't sure, how that communicated, so that's good to know.
Okay, yeah, good deal. So if we look at the view inbound patterns, these are what we have set up for Williamsport currently. There's one for EQT, one for High Crush, one for Smart Sand, and then US Ceramics. And then, so if we look at, I know EQT is the one the order we have open right now. I'm just gonna look at Smart Sand to show you.
So that customer key is what allows it to communicate.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
So we've got this particular pattern. When we set up the patterns in the terminal application for inbound, typically you just have the shipper, consignee, and customer all listed as the same thing. I believe it's really the terminal customer, the terminal customer's customer key that actually matches up to that, or maybe it actually must be the consignee party that matches up to the consignee party key in rail command. So then that pattern that's used on those shipments in rail command would, like, let's say we're doing the smart sand one, there's a shipment that tied to a smart sand pattern in rail command that would then look for the constant key of smart sand, and then it would select whichever product was associated on that railcar shipment too, and would create those inbound railcars in the terminal app, showing the correct customer and the correct product. So if we're editing a pattern, let's say Smart Sand wants to ship a different, a new mesh type, you could just come into edit inbound pattern, bring up this page, or maybe they're no longer shipping 100 mesh. You could just exit out of this one and leave these two remaining, or maybe let's say they wanted to add another one. We could add whatever that new one is. And if there, it isn't one listed here, you could just click this create option. That would allow you to set up that brand new shipping product.
Okay.
And then just hit update, and that's the way to update. If we're looking at EQT, so this is one that I think that I needed to look at. That may have been part of the reason that we don't have like these the EQT cars that are showing up in the inbounds currently that you manually added in. I don't think we have an EQT pattern set up in Rail Command, which I think is the issue.
Okay, which the rail cars are smart sand, but they're
Right,
being
yep.
sent out to the EQT pad. So EQT
Yep.
is the end customer.
Your guys' customer, right? So I think there's still an issue with that, because I think what we'll need to do is it'll be kind of just a clone of the smart sand pattern, but we'll just use an EQT code with it. But again, yeah, I'll look into that and get that one figured out for you guys. But this should be set up properly for you guys too. So the other thing is, Matt and I the other day went through and looked at the EQT pattern, because the customer on the inbound shipment section showed the wrong thing. So we had to update the terminal customer here. We just had to remove it and then add the correct one in. So I think we did have smart sand selected there, if I remember right, but and now I can't even select EQT. What happened there? Well, okay, so let's exit out of this. Now we'll go into the parties section. So, and I guess this actually works out too. So if you needed to ever set up, make any edits like this, so that, like we're gonna do, or create like a brand new pattern. Let's say you guys have a brand new customer that you need to add. If you look at the view shipping parties section, you can see what we have available today. I'm going to go into EQT and look at this one. So terminal customer is not checked. I don't know why. Let me check this qualifier and save. And then if I go back into my inbound pattern. Oh, I didn't save the changes. But now if I exit out of that and then try and add EQT back in as a customer, we should see it. There we go, in the drop down. So that qualifier on the shipping parties page allows you to select which particular party type it's going to be. So now we've got our shipper, consignee, and customer again. We'll update. We're good to go. Back to parties. If we're going to be setting up like a brand new customer, Usually what I do first is go to shipping parties and just make sure that it's not in there for some reason. If it's not, let's say like RSI is going to be the customer, the new customer that you send cars or send loads to. You would just go to, you'd see that they're not here today. So you go to new shipping party and enter this information in. Display name, you can name whatever you want to. It's just, that's what kind of shows up in this application. And I believe on the bill of lading. And then the EDI name is for kind of what shows up on, or what needs to show up on EDIs that get sent to rail carriers or whoever. That's not totally relevant in this system. It's more relevant in the rail command system where we're doing EDI transactions with the rail carriers. But for, truckloads, we're not sending EDIs anywhere. So you can basically name this whatever you want to, just FYI. And then address, if you know those, you can enter that in as well. And then select those qualifiers. You'll just want to select all 3 qualifiers, just as a general rule. Just makes things easier that way. And then you'll want to give it a customer code too, which again is going to need to link up with that rail command pattern. So we'll just name that RSI as well and save. Oops, we do have to fill out an address. So you can just make this whatever we need to. There we go. We should be able to save now. So now we've got our new shipping party. And then we would go create our new inbound pattern with the new party we created. So go to new pattern. We can name this whatever we want. We'll just close RSI logistics. This information isn't necessary either. But the shipping parties are required. So we're going to need, again, all the required parties. So there's 3 of them. So we'll do shipper. And then, again, we just make them the same for these inbound patterns. Then we're going to do consignee, RSI, customer, RSI. And then product, let's say we're going to be getting 100 mesh from you guys. Then if we're all set here, then we can do save new inbound pattern. And now here are the inbound pattern options. We've got our new one that we just created.
Okay. Now, as far as
then
terminal customer, consignee, and all that, and you can put that in there in whatever order. It doesn't really matter.
So if I'm going to new inbound pattern, you could enter like the customer first and then the shipper,
okay.
If you want to or whatever. Once you save it, it'll reorder it to the order that it wants it to be in. But you can just add them in here however you want.
Okay.
That order doesn't necessarily matter because it'll organize itself. Then we'll go to new or view inbound shipments. Again, we already just, looked at this. When we create a new inbound shipment, what'll happen is that customer will show up as RSI. So we'll do new inbound shipments. So you'll select who the customer is going to be, which is going to be RSI, and then pattern there, equipment. Oops. Do this. And then we'll just do the 1 car. Say it's shipped on the first. Product is going to be, so the product selection here is going to be, whatever options are in that pattern that we created. So this is just the only option that we added to that pattern. So obviously this is going to be what we select. And And then we'll do just pounds for the weight unit and save. And then if I sort this, there's that rail car that we just created that's headed inbound. So you can see it's in transit. Customer is going to be RSI.
Okay.
Then we'll move to outbound. So this is, where you're going to create an outbound pattern for loads that are going to be going to RSI. So again, I'll just look at the outbound patterns and see what we've got currently. And we don't have one for RSI, so we can go ahead and create a new one. So we'll do new outbound pattern, and then you can give it a name, whatever you want to. Something like that. Customer, we'll select who the customer is going to be. Receiver is typically the same thing. Address. I don't know if we have to do anything else there. Anything with a star should be required. So this, I shouldn't have to fill the rest of this in. Guess we'll see. Then the BOL template, there's a couple different ones. I think it defaults to the signature one. So
the signature one allows us to actually use our Sig Plus signature pad, I believe.
Right. So I believe that's the one you guys want to use every time. This one here, it's the same information that shows up on the bill of lading. It just doesn't, when you create a truckload, it doesn't allow you to do a signature there. And obviously wouldn't show a signature when the BOL is generated. But since you guys are using that, I believe you'll want to do the signature option. Pattern notifications. This is something you can actually set up too if you guys want to. I don't know if it's being, oops, why isn't that working? Maybe we don't do it here. Oh, there we go. It just took a minute. So I don't know if this is being utilized today or not, but this is an option. So this pattern notification would allow you to email new or changed or, any kind of bill of lading to a certain customer or distribution list. Like, is my name in here? It's not. We'll select both of you guys just to see if this works. So what'll happen is anytime you create a new truckload on an order, that once that load is completed, it would send a copy of the bill of lading to whoever's set up is in this pattern notification. So I'll create pattern. Now we've got our RSI one here. And then we'll go to the sales orders and we'll create a new sales order for RSI. So we've got RSI logistics, PO number, PO status open. We're going to do the 100 mesh product. And then tonnage limit, we'll just say 100,000. Oh, short tons, not. We'll just do 100 tons. Then just make a note there for training purposes. Then we'll do create outbound shipment. So we've got our new order here, and you guys are, familiar with how this works. We'll go to edit, and then create the new order. Truck number 1, trailer, and then we'll add our rail car. So, oops, where's our rail car?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? There, I missed a step here actually. So that rail car is still in transit.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You have to actually move
So
it
let's
to
say
the
the
actual
car actually
place.
arrived this morning. We'll change that. And we'll we'll say it's actually placed as of today. And then we'll trash this one. Let's try that again. Now that our car's placed, there we go. There's the car. And let's say we read the scale and the tear weight was 30,000. And then the net weight product was 35,000. Oops, 35,000. Then we'll create or save the order. There we go. And I don't have a signature pad here, so I can't sign it, but we'll pretend I'm doing it and save and close. Now, oops. Since I created this order, I believe you guys should be getting a copy of that bill of lading via email in a little bit here, like I mentioned. But that's kind of the whole process, setting up the inbound, setting up the outbound, and how they all tie together that way. Any more questions on this?
No.
Or do you want to see another example or anything?
No, I think that's pretty well self-explanatory. I did get that email over.
Okay, great. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to look at your guys's outbound patterns real quick, like for EQT. Like they don't have pattern notifications set up. If that's something that they think would be helpful, or you guys, I don't know if you like have to download BOLs for anyone and
Yeah.
send them out, but you could have it automated instead if you want to do it that way.
Right, which the only thing that would, with the amount of trucks that we end up doing, oh my, that would be a lot of emails if they were all just
It
one
would,
separate.
yeah.
Correct.
So-
And I don't think we want that set up to send automatically to anybody, because if we do have an error, they will get a
Yeah.
copy of what we end up voiding out.
Yeah. That makes sense. So, all right. Yeah, that is an option there, but yeah, as many outbound loads as you guys are doing you're right, it may not make sense. If you guys weren't aware though, I don't know, again, I don't know if you need to actually download bills of lading or not, but you can generate like multiple BOLs from here too by just selecting whichever load you want to, then click generate and it'll download them all for you. Kind of in
That's
order.
definitely
like this.
handy to know.
Yeah.
Okay. On oh, EQT, they had a request for the reports that they receive now. They were wanting them twice daily, which I was
Okay.
able to figure out for the OTA. That was no problem.
Yeah, this
But
one
as
here.
far as the tonnages, because it's set for previous days, how would we want to set that up to where it would work as a twice a day report?
Like this one here, you mean?
Yeah. That's,
Uh,
is there any way we can do that, or I
I
wasn't.
guess. Yeah, I mean, we can, if you just do it the same way you did here, just kind of essentially create a second version of the report and schedule it later. I'm just curious if maybe you want to ask them if they really need that weekly report twice a day, since it's a look at a full week's worth. That
Well,
just, to
it
me, it
would be
seems strange that they want.
the daily report CSV.
Oh, so they want this report daily, twice a day?
If you look up above it there, it has the daily one.
Right,
Just
yeah.
no. It's
Oh,
down
oh, wait,
two
wait,
above
this,
it
this
there.
one, this one here,
Yeah,
you mean?
yeah. But I was trying to think of a way that could work, but we would need,
Daily report
you
for
know,
yesterday's tonnage.
yeah, We would need like two separate time frames for within the same day. So say
Yeah, I
within,
guess if it's yesterday's tonnage, if they get it like at 6 a.m. today and 6 p.m. today, it's going to be the exact same report.
right. So that wouldn't work as a twice daily report. So if we could do it
Yeah.
between two times, say one for 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then another one for 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or anything like that. Is there any way
Uh,
that that could even be accomplished? Because as far as I knew, I didn't think so.
I don't know.
Because the only
Kind of
thing,
don't think so.
yeah, that's what I was thinking as well, because we don't have the ability to do times, but we have
Right.
date ranges and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we don't have the filters granular enough to do just by hour or what have you.
Right. Right. That,
So yeah, I guess maybe that's worth another conversation with them to see like why they wanted this particular one twice a day. I don't know.
yeah, that was just something that Stacy brought up to me that
Okay,
they had brought to her on the call the other day.
gotcha.
And I was able to make do with the OTA report. That was no problem. That was easy. But as
Mhm.
far as that one, yeah, I was kind of thinking that that wasn't a possibility.
I think you're correct there.
Okay.
Um, if they do need something like what you mentioned, like a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or anything like that, that's a little bit more specialized or a little bit more specific, um, we can probably talk about adding some sort of a filter like that. So we could do that. But yeah, at this point, I think the way this is set up to look at yesterday's, there's not really a better way to do it than what we have now.
Right. I mean, that's that's the most accurate and updated way that I know of that we could possibly track that. So that's kind of where I was at with that as well. Mm.
Okay. So we've got a little time now. Do you want me to jump into Rail Command and show you, how those shipments look?
Um,
Or do we want, we can do that another time too if you want.
if if we could get Jim a little up to speed on some of the basics as far as entering and closing POs and
Yeah, we can do that
just
instead. And I
running
can,
reports, just
sure.
showing him how to run reports and do that. That shouldn't take too long.
Nope. So, yeah, we'll do that. No problem. So, Jim, as far as orders go, you've got the same access as Matt and Dan, and Stacy too, actually. But when you go into orders, you'll go to sales orders, view sales orders, and by default, this looks at any currently open orders. So we've got the one that we just added as kind of a training thing, and then here's the actual one for EQT. Um, this, you can go up into the filters and click on that button in the top right. And then here's that default filter that's set up. PO status open is true. If we wanted to look at PO status false, that's just going to be all of the closed or completed orders that we've got. So there's a couple here you can see. Um, and then it's by default, it shows the order number, if there is a due date associated, receiver, product, tonnage limit, tons remaining, and then the number of truckloads completed on that particular order. Under outputs, you can reconfigure how this looks for you. Um, like they're all going to be outbound orders, so that's not really like necessary in my opinion. We could get rid of that by clicking the minus sign. If we wanted to add that customer name. We could add any other options here in this bank on the right if we want to. I don't know what else, maybe the job we could add that might be helpful. And we can rearrange these too if you wanted to see like the loads completed at the beginning. We could just drag and drop this to the top here. And if we hit submit, you can see we've got loads completed over here now. That inbound outbound is gone. And then we've got customer and job that we added as well. And then I'll stretch this out so you can see it a little bit more. You can do sorts if you want to, by just clicking on the header. Maybe I'll just do PO number instead. And you can see it's pointing, there's just an arrow pointing up now. So if we go back to our filters, it shows ordered by PO number in ascending order. If we click on it again, it changes to descending order. If we click this a third time, it gets rid of that sort. If we had, let me actually see if I can go into YSOX because they have a few more orders. So let's say I wanted to do multiple sorts. If I wanted to do by customer and then by PO number, we'll click on customer first and then press and hold shift and then click. And then it's doing by customer and then by the purchase order number. So we can reorder those any way you want to. And then, oops, go ahead.
No, I said, okay, that's something I didn't know that we could do.
Yeah, yep. You can do this for this page, and then this is going to be super helpful for you if you're like setting up reports or anything too, which for different loads, you can create a report from this too for yourself for orders as well. You could also filter down if you wanted to show a sales order report of just those Covia open orders. We could just add a new filter and do customer equal Covia and get rid of the others. So then you're only looking at the Covia orders. If we went to reports, I've got a default one open already, but we can give this report a name and say Covia open orders. The global report box, if you're going to save this report, if you check that, it allows anyone with access to YSOX to be able to see this report under the reports section, and they'll be able to run it. Only the report owner, so the person who created the report, essentially has the ability to come in and edit reports, but they'd be able to see it. Whereas if this is unchecked, only the person who created it, so only I would be able to see this particular report. And then the default filter, if this isn't checked, then anytime you go to view sales orders, it just does the general thing where it shows all open orders like this. If whoops, let me get rid of some of these other open things. If I do make this my default filter and save as new report, anytime I went to the view sales orders page, this particular configuration that I have set up, so these filters, and if I made any changes to the like different outputs and orders here, this is what would open instead of just that that more general one. So you can do defaults if you have a certain way you want to see any of these pages. So I'm gonna exit out of that because I don't want to change anything there. Under reports, I'll go to saved reports, and this is going to be any reports that you know have been created. So my saved reports up here at the top is all the ones that don't have that global report box checked. So I've got one particular saved report that I've created that is only I can see. You guys wouldn't be able to see this if you logged in to YSOX. But all the shared reports, these are all the ones that do have that global checked off. So anyone that logs in can see all of these. We've made Matt the report owner on all of these shared reports. So Matt has the ability to come in and run all these and can edit all these. If you, Jim, if you logged in here, you could run any of these if you want to, but you wouldn't be able to make any edits to them. Now, if there is a case where, like, Matt's gone on vacation or what have you, and you need to make changes to this, you can just let me know or let anyone at RSI know, and we can come in and change that report ownership for you, and make it you or whoever we need it to, so that you can go in and make the changes, or we could make the changes ourselves too if it's something real quick and easy. So just an FYI there.
All right, yeah, I don't think I need to be able to any of the existing ones, just be able to go in and them.
Yeah, he just
Sorry, you
needs
cut
to be
out
able
there a little bit.
to. He just needs to be able to run them.
Okay, yeah, so it's simple as just going to that saved reports section and then just clicking run. And that would, if depending on the format, if it's in, actually looks like maybe, I don't know, Matt, did you change these all to Excel, or maybe these all already were?
Didn't.
But anyway, so depending on the format, it'll run that report in whatever format it shows here. So that one we just ran, it downloaded to an Excel file. You can see it here. And that is, what shows up. Now, if I go back to, here's one the one that I created that's in HTML format. When I run this, it's going to run right in the application. And I'll give it a second. No, I don't want to waste your guys' time. We don't need to see that. So one more thing with reports. If we go back to our saved reports, the category here shows you kind of what page within the terminal application the report was generated from. So we got a bunch of them that were set up from the inbound shipments section. A bunch that were created from sales orders, and there's one from a truckload report. And so this truckload report is kind of a special report that we created for you guys. Specific, it's I don't remember which customer. I feel like it was Covia, but they wanted it set up with certain like headers this way with underscores in between and spaces and everything in all caps, so that when they got their copy of the report, they could easily like upload it into their system for whatever it is. So you can create reports from that Shale truckload report. The majority of them are done by the truckloads by PO report. So this is going to show all outbound loads that have been created, which order it's on, the receiver, the commodity that was in the truckload, the date the order was completed, that truckload BOL, the weights on it, etc. This same way that I was showing you can be filtered, and outputs can be arranged and stuff. Can give that report a name and save it here. If I go back to our outputs, the output type here is where you make that selection, whether it's going to be HTML, CSV, or Excel. The CSV downloads to an Excel file, but it's set up a little bit differently. If it's going to be a report that you guys need to create for any reason that you just are always going to run within the system here, you can just leave it as HTML and then it'll open up like this. If it's going to be one that's set up on a subscription to be emailed to people, I'd suggest one of these two, because that emailed report, if it's one of these two, they'll actually get like that document as an attachment. Whereas if it's left in the HTML output type, all the information here shows up like in the body of the email, and it's just, I mean, doesn't look as clean. It's not as nice, especially if it's something with a ton of records. It gets really clunky. If it's something where it's just going to be, you know, 3 or 4 items or a handful of items, it's not the end of the world. But if it, again, it's something that's going to be on a subscription, I would just suggest one of these outputs.
All right. Could you possibly just go through the process of adding or editing a sales order for Jim?
Sure. So go back to orders. We'll show you how to just edit one real quick, and then I'll create a new one. So we've got view sales orders. So this is anything that's open right now. Let's say we had to edit, like add to the tonnage limit on this one. We would go to our edit function here. And when you go to edit, there's only a couple, really the only thing you can do is edit tonnage. So let's say we wanted to make it 2000 instead of 18, do that and then hit save, and that would update. I'm going to exit out because I don't want to accidentally change it. Then if we like set this up, actually, let me jump into Williamsport and just play with the one we did earlier. Let's say I did this wrong and the purchase order number was actually supposed to be test 1, 2, 3, 4. Or, maybe we selected the wrong receiver or something. You can, also delete it. And then just click delete and then click yes, and it would get rid of it. And you can see it's gone from this now. If we go to false and look at anything closed, it shouldn't be there either. Nope. So it's completely deleted. So you can do that if you need to. I would recommend only doing that for like brand new orders that maybe you created something incorrectly. If it's an existing order, especially if it has loads completed on it, I wouldn't suggest deleting it. I would suggest probably just inactivating it instead. So like this one we've got here, you would just do close PO. And it
That just moves it into the closed instead of deleting it.
exactly, yep. And if you accidentally close something out and need to reopen it, you would just go up here. Oops, it's still trying to load. You just go up here and switch from open to closed, find that one you accidentally closed, and then just click on open PO instead. So that's fairly straightforward. If we're creating a new sales order, you'd come to the same section, go to new sales order, and then you'd select that pattern. So the pattern is going to be whoever your customer is going to be. So let's say, again, the customer is going to be RSI. And select that, and then you'd enter whatever that purchase order number is going to be. So let's say it's going to be test 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if there is a due date, you can enter that in there. Oh, actually, it's not letting me. Why is that?
Yeah, I
It
don't
should.
believe we've had any need to add due dates, so that could be.
Oh, maybe we just have it turned off or something then. But
Yeah,
yeah, if you do have a
usually we end
need
up
for
in
that,
the
we can change that.
notes. In the notes, we
Okay.
end up putting this job start date and like how many tons per day.
Gotcha. So yeah, PO status should default to open. And then product, you'd select what, kind of product it's going to be for that particular order. If it is going to be any product on a particular pattern, then you can leave it as all products. But I think probably the vast majority of the time, it's going to be one specific product for a PO. Job associated, you can enter that. If there's a specific reference number you need to add other than that PO number, that can go here. Enter that tonnage limit. And then special instructions. Like Matt was mentioning, you can enter anything else into there that you need to.
Right.
And then just click on create outbound.
Okay, that customer reference number, I have seen some jobs that have numbers in there and some that don't, so I'm not real sure what they use that for, but.
I'm not either. I think it's the Y-Sox one that has that most of the time.
Yeah, it would be Covia generally who has that number.
So customer reference.
And I wasn't sure if that was a number that was put in there so that we could look up specifically that customer, or obviously not if we're just typing in Covia to sort for everything.
Yeah.
So
I think that's more so for their reference whenever they're sorting through loads from our reports that we send to them.
Yeah, and I think that they, provide that with any new orders, so you can enter it right there.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. And then again, once you do have a new order created, there's that. Maybe I didn't create one like I wanted to. Oh, I was back in Williamsport. Keep jumping around. Then if you want to actually create new loads from that, you'll go into edit and then just click the new and then fill out that information. To do a signature, you can click on show BOL. And then sign it and then save and close. And then there'll be a little save icon here and it would create that order. And since it's 12, I do actually have to jump onto another meeting. But
do we want to schedule something for Rail Command?
Yeah, yep, I'll do that. I think I'll have to look at tomorrow. I think I'm pretty much booked up tomorrow and I'm out on Monday or Friday and Monday, but we could do it early next week if that'll work for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would work for me as well because I'm out Friday and the weekend as well.
Okay, that sounds good. And yeah, between now and then, if you do have any questions, let me know. I'll send you this recording and like I mentioned to you, Matt, I'll see if the issue whatever the issue I think it is with the shipments coming from Rail Commands to the terminal app, I'll test that out and see if I was right there and we can make the correction there. And I think we should be good.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go ahead and set up your guys' usernames for Rail Command right now, or just wait till we do the training?
You could go ahead and set them up now. That way we can kind of get familiar with navigation, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. And then when you guys do get logged in the left-hand menu, there's a section called Knowledge Base, and you can look at some of the overviews, and there's like an intro video for that too, that may help you kind of get familiar with it before we do the training.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.